every age, every day, there's something new. And the best thing is to tell them you love them, and the most beautiful thing in the world. It took me a while, too long. I couldn't shake it off. It was very difficult. Yeah, it was hard. But for me, that idea of the separation between a man and a woman was very clear when Andrea was born, because I didn't have any breast and I couldn't breastfeed. Because if I could breastfeed, I would have done it.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today's guest is everyone's favourite maître d'. Honestly, you have the way that your charm and warmth just filters through to every guest in the First Dates restaurant. Fills me with joy. The guest also has a lot of fun with Gino and Gordon. Just lots of fun. He's also the father of two. He's got a new book out called Seriously British. I'm very excited and I'm not quite sure what's going to happen today. Today's guest is Sirieix. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I mean, I've heard about your podcast for a while, and I have to say I'm really impressed how you started it and how you've become... Is it the most listened to podcast in Britain?
In parenting.
It's incredible. What a success. And really, my hats off to you for doing that. It's great.
Thank
well
you.
done.
I mean, you have been working with one of my best mates, Emma Willis, so I feel like maybe you've been with someone who's a bit biased about what I do.
No, I actually came across your podcast before I met Emma, and I was very impressed with the way you've done it and how you've managed to capture that space in the market and how people have taken to it. So, yeah, well done. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
very
really good.
much. Thank you. You are now on your fourth book.
That's right.
I think we should talk about books straight away.
Yes.
So talk to me about Seriously British and why you felt like you wanted to write it.
Well, Seriously British is about what the French think about the Brits. And I don't know if you know, but I've been in the UK now for 32 years, so longer than I've been in France, because I arrived when I was 20, and now I'm 32. And I think I've always wanted to come to the UK. I mean, certainly from the age of 14 or so, because I loved living my life in English. I love listening to English music. You know, in France, the French really love to listen to French music. In fact, there are laws about music, you know, and if...
Laws?
Laws, yes, so that you have to play at least 40% of French music on radio, for example.
Wow.
And they started in the 60s with a movement called the yeye, which were... The yeye, the name comes from, you know, the American or English music, you know, the way the backup singer says, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is where the name comes from. And the yeye is a group of artists who wanted to protect French music in French for French people. And this is how it started. So I love French music and I love France and I love the French. But at the time, as a 14-year-old rebellious boy who liked to provoke and who liked to do his own thing, I wanted to do what I wanted to do. My mum, unfortunately, sometimes didn't think it was great because she wanted me to do more what she wanted to do. But I had my own ideas in my mind. And so I came to the UK for the very first time when I was 14. You know, I loved listening to music in English, like I was saying, you know, writing poetry. And for me, you know, living in English, you know, in the UK was like living in a movie of my life. And I came to the UK, and in France, you have to understand, you know, the way I was brought up is my mom would cook, or my dad would cook a 3-course meal every lunch, every dinner, every single day of the week. There was only one day when my mom was not cooking a 3-course meal. From time to time, she would say, okay, you know what? We're going to eat like the Brits. And you know what that meant?
That was an actual thing.
That meant you go to the fridge and you sort yourself out. It's a funny thing when I think about it. You know, this is what she used to say. Anyway, so I go to the UK, I'm 14. I go to Stratford-upon-Avon. I go and I stay with this lovely family. You know, we're on an exchange student thing. Yeah. And the mom prepared me this lunch to go to school on the first day. And it's a Tupperware box. Inside there is an egg mayonnaise sandwich. There is a Kit Kat. There is an apple. There is an orange juice. And I opened it up and I thought, wow, this is freedom. This is the life. And that was the start, you know, for me to just love the UK. I went to school. I ended up being in an assembly. There was 200 or 300 girls in their mini skirts. You know, remember, I'm 14 years old, you know. All I'm thinking is kissing girls, you know.
And I'm sure they were thinking about kissing the French boy.
Yes, they were, because I kissed 10 girls in 15 days. And absolutely loved it. And there was this girl called Belinda, beautiful girl, you know, blonde and blue eyes and all that. I remember kissing her, and I came back home, you know, and I kissed her twice, actually. That's all. You know, you're 14 years old. You know what I mean, right? And my parents had bought some guinea pigs for my brother and I, and my guinea pig was called Belinda, of course.
Oh, like a little moment of love.
Yes, but they started the love affair. And then I went to catering college, and a friend of mine was working in the UK in a 2 Michelin star restaurant, which I then subsequently joined. Then we became 3 Michelin star. And that was the start of my career in 1992 at La Claire, which was at the time the top restaurant in the UK, because what I had in mind when I came to the UK, I wanted to go to the very top of hospitality in the restaurant business and be the best that I could be. And for that, I had to work with the best people in the best restaurants, and I had to do my best all the time.
Yeah.
It's about a champion's mindset where you really want to get to the top, and that's what I did, and I loved it because everything was in English. So although I was a foreigner every single day, I loved being a foreigner. People loved the Frenchman. If I was going to a party, I ended up in the kitchen. People were talking to me about my experience, about the work that I was doing, because it's very uncommon, for people to meet people who meet celebrities all the time, who run these, high standard restaurant where it's all about perfection. But, in terms of food, for example, and hospitality, it's a way of life in France. And my parents are entertainers. They love to entertain. They love to cook. They can cook the whole of the French repertoire. It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah, and not many people can do that. And the way my parents were, because it was my job to set up the table, because my brother was 3 years younger than me, and he was always in the toilet.
I was always in the toilet after dinner.
No, he was before dinner and after dinner. I'm going to the toilet. He was having a convenient poo, just to escape clearing the table or setting the table. So it was me who was doing that. And somehow I liked it. But it's only years later that I joined a catering college. But you see, this is where parents are very important, because I remember telling my mom I wanted to do a catering college, and she said to me, Fred, if you want to do a catering college, you can't go to the local one. And although she didn't want me to board, she sent me to boarding school 130 kilometers away, in a school that was number 3 at the time. There was 10 demands for one place. And she said to me something that I'm repeating it to you now. It's just stuck in my mind. If you want to be the best, you've got to learn from the best, and we're going to take you to that school. And that's what I did. And there in that school, you see, it started with my parents with that rigor. They were always entertaining, always cooking, always. My dad was drinking wine every day. My mom, I'm jumping now, but you see, it's evoking so many memories. Like my mom, for example, I would go and meet her at work. We were living 500 meters from the hospital where she was working. And at the time, you're talking 1978, 79, 1980, she was drinking wine at work. The hospital was giving wine. She would have a carafe of wine by herself or share it with a friend, because this is the world. You see, this is how you live in France. You have a bottle of wine, you drink wine, you have your bread.
My dad's Italian, so for us, wine was always at the table,
exactly
and children were always a little. I was talking the other day, actually, our pudding. So my dad was from a little village in the mountains in Campania called Valva, and they didn't have a lot. There was a massive earthquake, which meant they were all in temporary accommodation for about 30 years. And, the water wouldn't always be running and stuff. But their puddings that we had would quite often be just sliced peaches in red wine. Just soaked in. And as kids, we were like, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. A little bit like, merry after dinner. But it was that thing of almost trusting that child, like just incorporating alcohol and things like that into a meal, so it doesn't become this thing where you're suddenly 16, 17, 18.
But it's a way of life. It's the culture. You don't even think about it.
No,
it
you
is
don't.
The culture. So for me, you see, this is the culture in which I was brought up, but the work of my parents and the way they felt about their work and their responsibility that they had, as nurses in the French NHS, and how they could make a difference in people's life, and about their professionalism. It's about the teamwork. It's about the organization. It's about the precision, the attention to details. It's about doing your job to a standard, and the standard is 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Anything less is not good enough. Yeah. And there's another thing, when we talk about values in life, my parents taught me values like integrity, loyalty, reliability, and I judge everybody on their standards. Mm-hmm. So they set the line, they drew the line. This is what integrity is. This is what reliability, this is what honesty is. This is what being helpful means. And this is the line. And if I'm under the line, I know. And even though my parents may not be behind me, I know, and they're telling my mom is behind me and she's waving her finger, say, Fred, we did not teach you like this, we teach you like that. And by myself, I adjust the level to go to that level, because it's about, they've set the values, they've set the boundaries, they've set the direction, they've set the vision, and I'm just following in that vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you think about any of that when you were younger, in terms of, when I'm older and I have children, this is what it's going to look like? Did you think about carrying forward the things that they've taught you?
No, I did not. I thought about it when I had children, about I was going to do it. And the thing is, it's gone so fast. It's gone so fast. My daughter is 20 tomorrow.
It's crazy.
My son is 15. And I don't... You know, when they were born, they was just like little and they're beautiful and they grow, you know, they're 1, they're 2, they're 3, you know, it's just... But I don't know why, I did not think that they would grow up to be like 20 or 15, never mind take part in the Olympics. And so to see them now, I'm thinking, my God, it's just gone so fast. Because when I had them, it was so beautiful. This is the best thing I've done and the best thing I will ever do, my children.
Well, did you always know that you wanted children?
Yeah, I wanted children. I mean, it just happened by accident, you know. I mean, it's not like it was an accident, like, you know what I mean?
Happen, yeah.
I mean, I was old enough and everything like that. It was not, oh, we're going to do a child like that. It was just, it happened. But because it seems like they've grown so far, I'm just thinking, and I did take the time at the time, and I remember thinking, I've got to take the time and I've got to enjoy that moment. Nonetheless, it just went, woof. We're here, you know, and it's 2024 now.
Yeah.
And they were born in 2004 and 2009. I'm just thinking, how can I slow down the time even more? Because my daughter in 10 years will be 30. Anyway, do you know what I mean? It's just I'm thinking it's going so fast. But what I like about the kids is that they were great when they were born and they're just great now and they keep being great. And every age, every day, there's something new. And the best thing is to tell them you love them and they tell you you love them.
Yeah.
It's just the most beautiful thing, you know, that you are there and you're close together and you have that bond and that relationship. There's no other bond that's as close as this. It's just
no love
beautiful.
Like it. Yeah.
The most beautiful thing in the world.
Can you remember finding out you were going to be a dad?
Can I remember? Yeah, I thought he was great. I remember when Andrea was born, difficult birth. It was so difficult. You know, I mean, you go and give birth and you've got all these ideas. And we went in hospital and the first midwife that we had was terrible at her job. And I could see that she was bad. She was chewing gum, the belt, you know, to monitor the baby's heartbeat. What didn't work. You know, he was only working intermittently. Yeah. And I did not feel safe. And I was looking at my partner at the time and I said, look, this is not going well. What do you think? Shall I just get rid of her? Because I was just going to get rid of her, but obviously I need to ask her what she thinks. We've been in labor for 6 hours. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? Anyway, she said, yeah. So I come out of the room. I went to speak to the head nurse there. I explained the situation. Then they changed and they brought the world champion, you know, the 60-year-old woman whose grandmother, mother delivered, you know, thousands of baby over, you know, 50 years career or something like that. And everything went well from that. But I'm glad I did it because, you know, it's such an important moment. And if you get it wrong because somebody is negligent, don't do their work properly, which is...
Well, and for the woman, it's such a vulnerable time, right? Especially first time around, you don't know quite what that experience is going to be like.
And people sometimes don't dare to say what they think. I mean, look, we go back to the book, Seriously British, you know. The French complain about everything all the time. They don't care.
They don't care, yeah.
They don't care if they're going to upset somebody, they just do it. The Brits are very considerate. They're very, you know, a little shy, you know, in the way that they don't want to complain. You know, it's really against the British values.
It's almost like we don't want to offend.
You don't want to offend. Let's say, for example, you go to the hairdresser, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, you go to the hairdresser and the barber at the end, you know, does the thing with the mirror, you know, where he show you the back of your neck. Can you imagine? I've asked so many Brits this question. Have you ever said it's not correct?
No,
it's not right.
never.
Nobody would dare. I've done it only 3 weeks ago. I said, no, it's not right. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's not correct. And I'm not going to come out of the hairdresser looking like Kermit the Frog or whatever, you know, because, no, I'm not going to do
Brits
that.
will come out and probably just cry.
So anyway, this is just where I am there with this lady there. She comes out, the new one comes in, and Andrea is born. It was so difficult, 12 hours. I mean, it was... I wasn't in labor myself, but I went back home.
Also,
my God, my backache.
Standing up for 12 hours was really hard. But also it's that thing, isn't it, of seeing someone delivering your baby and being helpless in that. You know, something that you've never been in that environment. It's a very different setting. Something very alien is going on, even though it's the most natural thing in the world. You've never experienced it and you're helpless.
You're totally helpless. And when my daughter come out, the midwife said, hey, this is your daughter, hold her. And I didn't want to hold her.
Really?
Because I was scared. I was scared I was going to get her and drop her. I was so scared. It was just like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. And he said, hey, this is your daughter. And she pushed her in, I mean, delicately, but it felt like it was. She was throwing her inside my arms. And I held her. I couldn't move. And I sat down. There was this chair, you know, this grandpa's chair in the room. And I sat down and I didn't move. And that was my first meeting with Andrea.
Oh.
It was beautiful.
Can you remember what it was like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling emotional now, so I have to stop myself from crying. But it was very special. It was beautiful. I went home at 4 o'clock, called 4 o'clock in the morning, called my parents, burst into tears. And then I woke up the next day early to go and pick them up. And I had an old Audi at the time, and I drove to the airport, and my wheel fell off. My wheel fell off. Oh my God, I was panicked because the wheel fell off. Can you imagine? I was going to get my daughter. It was like, oh my God, the wheel. Anyway, we repaired the car.
And also, you kind of think if that had happened with the baby in the car, like you could catastrophize, right?
I wasn't driving too fast, but
Yeah,
nonetheless,
but
it
still.
fell off.
Yeah.
Anyway, the repairman comes, repair the wheel, pick them up outside the airport. I've never driven so slowly.
Oh, I love that. What, can you remember the early days of having Andrea at home?
Yeah, I remember her first bath. You know what you do with the first child? You turn the heating up. You've got the small bath on the table. You light the fire in the kitchen, so you got the fire going. You got the heating on. Then you got the water at the right temperature. 2 thermometers to make sure the temperature. You put your elbow in. And I remember putting her down, and she was screaming. She still had her umbilical cord, which was there. And she was screaming. Take her out, put her down, wipe her, dress her up and everything like that. And I used to play reggae to her to make her fall asleep.
Really?
Yeah, the old Trojan record. And, it's really melodic and really na, na, na. I love reggae. So I used to rock her like that. And as she was falling asleep, I used to put her down. And as soon as I put her down, she was waking up. And then I wake up, take her again. And then we start again, all over again.
And at the time, I'm guessing you were, how long did you have off of work?
Well, it was different with my son. I mean, with Andrea, I was off every Monday. That was the day that I was off by myself with her. So that was a very special day. And I can't recommend it enough to have a day. Because as a dad, and I remember thinking when she was born, women are very lucky. Because you give birth straight away, if you are lucky to be able to breastfeed, which most women are, poof. Put the baby on the breast. That's it. The bond is done.
Yeah.
I don't have any breast. I cannot compete with your breast.
Yeah.
Can't compete with that. So it's a very easy thing for a mom. And then mom, also because, it's natural. You go with the natural order of things. This is the way it is in the animal world, right? And we are no different. We are mammals, right? So mommy stay at home and look after the kid, and daddy goes to work. And I know we can talk about whether men should have that and da-da-da. Naturally, this is what happens. And there's nothing you can do with the order of things. We can, of course, change things, but by and large, this is what happens. And for me, it was okay. I was going to work, and you work in restaurant, you're working. I was at work at 9 o'clock, coming back at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's my job. You don't have a break. I want to be in a Premier League of restaurants, and I've got to pay for Christmas.
Yeah.
And this is what I do, and this is what I know. I don't know how to do something for 2 hours. It's going to give me as much money as if I work 14 hours.
Yeah.
So I've got to do what I do. But it's difficult, because you're like, the guilt that you feel as a dad, and I felt that guilt many years, that you're not there enough, are you doing enough, are you supporting enough, and everything like that. And I think that this is something that I wasn't prepared for as a dad, but this is about maturity, it's about learning about yourself, it's about accepting what you do and knowing what you do, being clear, I love them, I support them, I'm here. But you always have the thing, somebody is at home and they are at home, you're not at home. So having that day just for me and my daughter, going to the park, going to the library, doing the little things with baby and mummy group. I mean, this time he's daddy. I was one of the only dads there, which was, and I never thought it was a problem. But, and that's to follow, and make time, to be with your children as they grow, to have that bond, to be able to connect is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard, isn't it? Because you would be doing that really long day and your your time to sleep is so precious, but you have to kind of pack everything in between 1 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning.
I think, there's no, hard and fast rule for parenting. Everybody do it the way. I mean, my dad, for example, was working at night, but I never thought when I was a boy that he was working, because he would put me to bed at 8:30. He would wake me up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
He was sleeping, see what I mean? And he takes me to school. Then at 8:30 I was at school. 9 o'clock he's in bed. At 4 o'clock he gets up and he picks me up from school. My dad doesn't work. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So with my son it was different because I didn't have that day off, that Monday. But what's very interesting though, having a daughter and a boy, how different the relationship is.
Really?
The thing you have. How many?
All 3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah.
To have a girl is very different. Because with my son now, we do boys things.
Well, you box together, don't you?
We box, we love cars, we like boys things. It's a funny thing. You know what I mean? My daughter just sent me a text just now. She said, look, Daddy, I done my nails. So she's showing me her nails. And with my son, we love to go boxing together.
Yeah.
I mean, we do lots of things together. But boxing is it's a man's thing to do, inverted comma, even though this women boxing
Don't worry,
is very
I've got
big.
boxing gloves and a punching bag, but I appreciate that it's your thing to do with your son. Don't worry.
It's brilliant. I love boxing, and to go with him and to do that, it's just because boxing is a very different sport where you really are very close to another man, and once you finish boxing and fighting somebody else, there is this huge sense of respect. You have to do it, I think, to understand.
Yeah.
But to do it with your son is just, we've always loved to play fight with my son.
Was it a little bit like, I ruckus with my kids, right? So we have little wrestles and stuff. But first, like being in like a ring and actually boxing your son, was it a little bit like,
Well, I have to be careful, but now he's 6'1", he's 80 kilos, he's 15, he's strong.
Yeah.
Athletically, he's far superior than I am. But I'm old and a little bit wise, and I know my way around the ring. But we did it because we haven't sparred during the summer. Also, I've got to be careful because he's getting to this point where at one point, he's going to get too strong, too powerful. So we're going to have to stop because I won't be able to compete. But right now...
Is that a strange thing as a dad? Because if I think about my dad and my brother, so my brother overtook Dad quite quickly. He's 6'2", and my dad's 5'7" at a push, and then, but my dad's always been super fit, always run, always cycled. But now my brother is faster, my brother is stronger. And is that a weird transition as a dad?
Not at all. Not at all.
Is it lovely to see that?
It's a natural order of things, and it's fun, and I see him growing, and I'm just more and more. He's very good looking, my son. I look at him and I think, oh my God, he could be a model. You should see how good looking he is. Very beautiful. So, I think, no, it's not a problem at all. No, I think it's just the natural order of things. And it's nice. He's taller than me, stronger than me, better looking than me. I'm really happy about that. And he's very nice. He's nice. He's very, because, we always talk about my daughter, and my daughter is amazing. Of course she is. And my son is selfless. He's the kindest, sweetest soul. He's always there for other people. And this is just something that we can't celebrate and show on television, just like you can do cooking show, because everybody can see what a good steak and maybe a good lasagna look like. You can take a picture. You can't really film good service and the feeling of having received good service. You can't film that. You can't film an emotion, a feeling.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
But it's interesting because I think most parents, when you say, what do you hope your child will be? It is probably that thing of to show that they are able to show kindness and compassion.
Yeah, no, I mean, they are both kind and they both have compassion. I think for me is for them to be able to realize themselves and do what they want to do and to be happy within their own skin, within themselves, and to do what they want to do. Whatever they want to do, I will support. And so it's more that, you see, that they can do... But of course, you want your children to be kind and to be sweet. Yeah. And they both are. But when I contrast with Andrea, is because, we're talking about Andrea, and it's like I've only one daughter. I don't have one daughter. I have a son, but I don't like to talk about my son too much because I don't want him to be the son of a famous guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you become a famous son of a celebrity, inverted comma. What for? What is it to do? Yeah. He's a little boy. He's going to school.
I guess it's that thing, isn't it? He's got to choose what he wants to do in life. And, and that it might be that actually that's...
I didn't know what I wanted to do at 15. I found out at 16 and then I went for it and I loved it. And
because obviously Andrea's out there in the world now because of her incredible talent. And obviously we saw her at the Olympics. But there would have been a long time of her working hard without, people knowing that she's your daughter, and just it's really interesting. I think that your work ethic has absolutely been passed on, but in a very different way.
I think these are the things, I mean, just like with my parents, with what they did and how they did, and unconsciously you pick things up, and this is what happened, cats don't make dogs.
Very true. Let's go back to your son's birth, how did that compare to Andrea's?
It was a bit more difficult in the sense that when he was born, it was more difficulty with the birth, and he had to be kept in observation for 24 hours. And then you go back and you see him in the incubators there, a tiny little baby, all beautiful, and you just panic. I just panicked. Oh my God, why are they keeping him? And I just talked to myself, that two little Fred, one is little angel and the one's little devil, or everything is going bad. It was, no, it's just precaution.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You do a precaution, 24 hours. When it's finished, then you carry on. And luckily, it went with a little angel, but you can't help to worry. Yeah. You can't help to worry because you can't bring him home. We couldn't bring him home on the first day when he was born, like my daughter. He had to stay in hospital for 24 hours, and then you worry, of course. But that was a short worry. There was nothing to worry about, and
it's funny though, because it's always.
Do you know what I mean?
It's in hindsight. It was such a short day. It was one day, and then he was fine and he was out. But actually living it. That 24
it's difficult,
hours.
and having parents who worked in the French NHS, my parents are the most scared people to go in hospital because they've seen things happen. They've seen negligent people. They've seen mistakes happen. They've seen everything, and they don't want to go to hospital. My dad's got to have a knee operation. His knees are completely gone. He doesn't want to go to hospital because he doesn't want to go under just in case something happens. So he's a bit paranoid. He definitely is, but in the same time, it comes from a reason, right? So as much as I'm not in the same frame of mind as they are, they brought me up, and I've heard these stories, and I know that just like the first midwife who was, there, to deliver Andrea, sorry, you can't deliver my daughter because I don't think you're good enough, and so you just worry.
So what was it like having two children at home?
Brilliant. I loved it. I still love it. I think it's fantastic. They are so different. They fight like cats and dogs, but not like cats and dogs who don't like each other. They love to play fight like little cubs.
Really?
They still do it now. And I just looked at them and I just like, oh, they're so beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And looking back at those early days, I think having a 5-year-old and a newborn, that's a very... how was that set up at home? Was it?
Well, the good thing is when they're 5, you see, they don't require as much as when they are 1 or 2, the feed, the change and all that. So that gives you a bit of a break. So when you're changing the little one, the other one can maybe go and play with the dolls or something like that. It's not like you've got everything at once, like you've got a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old. It's like, whew, a lot of work. But 5 and 0, 5 and, just born was great.
Yeah. And we talked earlier about, not being there because of work and stuff. How has that changed over the years? And, because I feel like for you, you're able to kind of, with dad guilt, kind of go, no, actually, let's really rationalise this. And that's a really unhelpful thing.
It took me a while, too long. I couldn't shake it off. It was very difficult. It was hard, but you eventually, you just have to win on yourself, and you have to know what's right. And I think it's just time. Time is what's going to mature the cherries, and is what's going to mature you. And for me, it was a case of you have to go through it before, and then you get to the other side, and you are on the other side, and that's it, you're there. And that was good.
It must have been like one thing, I guess, because you had those rituals at home with meals, and that's a massive part of your childhood. Obviously, with your work, you can't be there for dinner time.
No, you can't do that. So you have to, it's a bit like relationships, like you are in a relationship, and we all have that idea, that Disney movie sort of relationship, the princess and the prince, 2.5 kids, a dog and a house and all that. And this is the image that we have, and we think it's going to be like that. Life is not like that. Mm-hmm. And relationships are not like that. Having children is not like that. Like you're going to have, if you had a great childhood, the same childhood as you had, or if you had a bad one, you make a better one. Do you see what I mean? I think that you just have to live your life and adapt your life and just go with the flow. And sometimes, like with the dad guilt, but this is just, I think a lot of people have talked to a lot of my friends who are dad, and they have the same feeling. A lot of them have it. And I talk to a new dad and I say, just don't have that guilt. Just, you know that you are there. You got to pay for Christmas. Somebody has to do it. You can't just send your kids on holiday and buy clothes, and we all have to do it. And this is the reality of life. And, this is something that one has to realize and one has to know, but only you can make that journey inside your head and come to a place where, you can open the doors now and it's just different,
Yeah, but I wonder why mum guilt is talked about so much now. But I feel like dad guilt is suddenly, it's starting to be talked about a bit more.
Because when we talk about parenting, it's all about the mum. And fair enough. Do you see what I mean? But we don't give due prominence or due importance to dads because we think that children are brought up by their mums. I mean, it could be that there's a single mum, but there are also single dads, and it takes two to make a baby.
Yeah.
But for me, that idea of the separation between a man and a woman was very clear when Andrea was born, because I didn't have any breast and I couldn't breastfeed. Because if I could breastfeed, I would have done it.
Yeah.
I would have done it. I would have taken maternity leave or paternity. I did take paternity leave, but you take 6 weeks. 6 weeks. What
6 days. What is it?
6
2
days
weeks?
or 2 weeks or something like that. And I don't think it's something that, because maybe the dad, traditionally you're the, hunter-gatherer, the breadwinner. We know it's not like that anymore. But, in London, for example, if you have kids, and you want to go back to work and you're a woman and you put your kids to the nursery, for example, the nursery is going to cost you maybe half your salary or maybe more than your salary, depending on what you do. I mean, even if it's half your salary, is it worth going back to work and spending all this money when you have to make a choice, you see? But it's interesting what you say about the dad guilt, and I think because there is this narrative towards women, and I love women and women are great, but I love men and men are great too. And I think that we've got to come to, of course we see terrible things that can happen in the news, crime and whatever committed by men or whatever, but it's just not, these are horrible people. They are like, I don't know how many percentage of the population they are. Or whatever. Let's not just think about them. Let's just put them in wherever. We don't want to think about them. But I think it's just to put the men and the women on an equal footing there, and understanding that, having children is both the men and the women, and both feel really.
Yeah, and but a shared responsibility. Totally. And actually, if you are, as much as being there for them on the daily is important, so is going out and providing. So, but everyone's providing. You're just providing in different ways.
Yep, that's totally.
Yeah. You talked about earlier how, we go into parenting and we have this idea of a family with 2.4 children and what it's going to look like. Obviously, you and your partner are no longer together, or their mum aren't together. Was that a tough thing to navigate with the children in mind?
Oh, I think it's always difficult when you separate, whether it's a good separation or a bad separation. It will always be difficult. So that changes the dynamics, changes the routine, the day-to-day. And of course, it changes the way and the approach that you have, because suddenly everything is upside down.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of people have to deal with and to come to terms with. In saying that, it may not be more difficult maybe that people who stay together and are in a bad relationship or in, So I think that, look, you sleep in your bed the way you make it. Sometimes, the bed is thrown in the air and it's just the way it is, and you just have to just find your way, and the sheets are falling back, and eventually everything will settle. But I think that there are many different types of families, and you can't have just one type of family. And it's also how you see yourself as a family, see yourself as a person, but don't take into consideration what is happening. And this is why then we have this guilt, we have these issues in our head, because what's in our head and the situation is not on the same level. Yeah. Whereas when you adjust then this is when you can see the woods from the tree, and then you feel more comfortable with what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Your children are now, teenagers. Andrea's not.
She's a teenager until tomorrow.
What has it been like seeing them? And I know we talked about it all happening in the flash of an eye, but seeing them from babies to now, where they are starting to navigate life choices, and how have you found encouraging but also letting go?
I find it's so inspiring and beautiful and a joy of every day to do that. I am very impressed with what they do. I'm very impressed with my son. He just got an A in his RE, in his GCSE, and he's worked so hard because he was bottom of the class, and suddenly he's worked so hard. He's got an A, and he was so proud. Andrea, with what she's doing with the diving, also with the work that she does. You know, she recently did a campaign around periods and girls, you know, and women being aware and not being ashamed and feeling comfortable in their own skin. And the way she talks about it, I'm like, wow.
It must be incredible to see your daughter talking
incredible,
like
you know,
that.
and I just look at what she does and I'm thinking, I mean, yesterday, in fact, she posted something on social, and the way she posted it, the wording, what she said, how she said it, and I just wrote a little duck emoji and a heart and you know, the hand like that, you know, and I said to her, I wanted to write #respect on your post, but I didn't because I'm your dad, and because people sometimes have the wrong ideas about what you post, but I said, this is what I wanted to post because this is what I thought, and I didn't tell her to post, it came from her, but the way she did it, I thought, it's so clever, but also it's so honest, it's so beautiful, it's so something that she thought, that she means. And the sentiment is beautiful. And I'm like, this is good, Andrea. Very good.
And there seems to be a sense from you that, you know, your children are doing very different things, but you absolutely want to and do celebrate both of them for the different achievements that they are, you know, that they're...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Olympics, Fred?
Yeah.
I cried watching you with Andrea talking in an interview, and then I cried again watching it back.
Oh, did you?
There's a moment where it doesn't quite go to plan, and you are there, and the way that you are, you know, to see, it must be really difficult to see your child who has worked ridiculously hard just have a bad day, essentially, and not achieve what they'd set out to. As a parent, you must just want to scoop her up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that, I mean, the Olympics was one of, it's not the best moment in my life.
Honestly, just watching you there, Fred, I just loved it.
I mean, it was, because it was 3 weeks. I was in Paris for 3 weeks. I took the same train as Andrea. I was on the same train as Sirieix.
Like, Dad, stop it.
I know. I planned this, but we planned it with Andrea as well. Do you know what I mean? So I was in the Eurostar. I was in a carriage at the front. She was towards the middle. Then during the trip, you know, I went there to go and see her. And then we finally arrived in Paris, you know, and it was great because I was working for BBC Sport, which allowed me to have access, for example, to the village.
Just seeing you waving at her. Yeah. Andrea! It's like,
Andrea
that's
was
my
there,
daughter.
and she said, I said, show me your room. I went up. They had one of the best rooms in the village, you know, with four other girls. They had a penthouse at the top. It was just brilliant. So I got to go there. You know, my parents have always done that. You know, my dad even still come to work now. So if I'm on a show with Gordon, Gino and Fred, he's there. If I go and do first dates, he's there and come and have a meal. I just want to be where my children are. You see what I mean? And so that was a great opportunity to do that. And then it was Olympic fever. It's in Paris. You know, when I went, you know, because I was in the stadium in 2012 when London 2012, right? I was there at the Olympic ceremony, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing. You know, at the time I had been in London for 20 years. I love Britain, the pride that everybody felt, and I felt proud because although I'm not British, I feel seriously British, the title of the book. So as much as I'm very French, I feel very British. Anyway, and I go to Paris and I think, I hope the French are, can I swear?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Excuse my French. I hope the French are not going to fuck it up. Because I thought to myself, we done it so well in Britain. Let's just show what we can do. And my God, it was amazing. I think it was a tour de force for the opening ceremony. You know, watched by 300,000 people. You know, on the Seine. I think it was such a contrast between the French and the Brits. You know, the French, within 5 minutes of the opening ceremony, there's a reference to Ménage à Trois. I was watching it with Fruitcake, my partner, and she looks at me and she goes. And I went, the French. And what you have in 2012, you have the Queen jumping out of an helicopter, you know, and James Bond is there with her. You know, this is the contrast between the two countries, which is fantastic. And so, anyway, you know, she done the synchro. Then there was this individual event where she did so well the day before. It's just like that, you know.
And the highs of seeing her get a medal must have been like.
But it's all about learning. I think that you learn more when you lose, and you can't always win.
That's so true.
You can't always win. I mean, to be on this podcast, I think it's a win because I'm thinking, wow, I'm on the most successful podcast in the UK. Not everybody gets to go there. Do you see what I mean? So to be here, I think, wow. So you've got to celebrate your win, even if and sometimes people don't see them. Because for Andrea, she could win, for example, the British Championship when she was 15. She won the British Championship when she was 15. She came from behind in a sense that nobody expected her to win. She was diving against girls who are 19, 20, 21, and she beat them. She was 15. Nobody knows about that.
Yeah.
That was a bigger victory than, I think, for me to get the bronze in the Olympics. But it's the Olympics, the very same year and the year before, she had an incredible season, finishing second or third in the World Cup, finishing third in the World Championships, European champion, Commonwealth champion, British champion. On the day, it's not the day, and, what can you do? The beauty about Andrea, though, is on the day, of course, you don't win and you're sad. On the very night, we had a meal all together, and Andrea was happy, and the emotions have gone, and that's it. Tomorrow is another day.
Yeah.
Because also, let's remember, that the Olympics is one day. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to start. And Andrea, she knows, and she's not like that. Like thinking about, kind of, how do you say in English? When you're like, oh my God, I'm a Olympic champion every day.
Getting big-headed.
Listen, darling, it was yesterday. This today is today. Today you're not doing Olympics. Tomorrow you're going to university. So let's concentrate on that.
Yeah.
That's you won. Very good. Let's think about LA 28 now.
Yeah.
This is gone. It's past. Let's not just. I was going to say something.
Keep building.
I was going to say something. I can't think of the word. I was going to say something and I don't think it's appropriate for that podcast. I'm not saying it.
Okay.
You get the gist. I couldn't find a word.
But it must have been so hard. And I think especially, so that interview, that's such a raw moment of, it's just happened.
But the beauty about that interview is that I don't remember what I said.
Yeah.
And I don't think she does either. I think that we remember the moment and the feeling because the emotions were so heightened. Everything was so raw. And I remember waiting there in the mix zone thinking, oh my God. Just thinking, this is just, I said, okay, what? And then Andrea came and I think it's just natural. You don't think about it. But the beauty of having it on camera is that we can look back at it.
Oh.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just a memory that we will always have.
Yeah.
Because it's in that moment. That was a very special, but it's like a tree fall in the forest and nobody sees it. Does it happen? It does happen, but nobody sees it, so nobody knows. I'm talking to my daughter. Does it happen? Nobody knows. But this conversation is conversation that you have, that every parent have.
And I think that's why it resonated so much, though, because it is a conversation that so many parents have. And
nothing extraordinary there. But for me, though, I have a memory.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have that. Because if it was just me and Andrea, I wouldn't have taken a phone and filmed myself saying to Andrea, I wouldn't have done it. It wouldn't have happened. No way in a million years. But I'm there with work. And the beauty of that, it's recorded. And I have a record of that conversation. And that's a beautiful conversation. Andrea is there. And it's just the love, the bond, the support, and it's just a beautiful thing to have. It's a beautiful memory. We will always have it.
Honestly, it felt an honour to watch it, to be honest, to share that, to be able to see that tenderness and love. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, you're French. The children were born here. Their mum is Italian, am I right? That's a massive infusion of great cultures and dynamics. That must have had a massive impact on how the children were raised.
Well, they're British because they are born here.
Yep.
Their friends are British. They've got friends in Italy and in France. Or they speak Italian and French, the both of them.
Do they?
They do. I mean, obviously being in a European household, then when I'm at home, I love cooking French. I love to follow that French way. I love to have a sandwich as well and a jacket potato, and their mom cook Italian, they eat pasta all the time. So you have that melting pot and that mix. Andrea, when she was a little girl, she used to say, I am moitié-moitié. Basically means I am half and half. I am half British, half Italian and half French. She didn't know about a third by then. It's funny, no?
I love that so much.
And it's stuck. It really stuck.
Yeah, I love that. If you could write a letter on being a dad, who would it be to and what would you say?
What would I say? I did think about that one, when I agreed to come on your podcast. I was just thinking, what am I going to say?
Really?
What am I going to say? Because I could have told myself something, and I wouldn't have listened.
Really?
Would you have listened if you wrote a letter to
No.
yourself? You would have done what you wanted to do.
And also, it's that thing, isn't it? When people say to you, enjoy every moment, because it goes so fast, like you were talking about how quickly it's gone. It's really hard to enjoy every moment, actually, when, there's a reason why those moments aren't,
And you
joyful.
say enjoy every moment, when you are in the rat race and you're trying to make ends meet and you're working and you're desperate, things are not going your way, you worry about lots of things, life is not always settled in your head with work, with trouble that you might have at work, with issues, money, maybe you have a loan. And I mean, there's so many things that go inside your head that's going to disturb you. So enjoy the moment. Yeah, but I'm feeling stressed.
Yeah, how can I enjoy this?
Now, of course, it's very important to have balance in life. We were talking about before that, the balance is very important. But to get to that point, it's about the narrative, like people say about being positive. I think I'm being very positive. But in the same time, sometimes I'm negative. But the way I am now is not the way I was 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And, in sport, you condition your body to be better. If you're doing, for example, Andrea with the diving, she does the training to condition her body. But there is also the conditioning of the mind. And the conditioning of the mind is about teaching yourself to be positive, teaching yourself to have helpful, compassionate thoughts, to be a good person, to always think about others. And it's not something, even though I think I'm a nice person,
I'd agree, yeah.
And thank you very much. But still, I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes. I commit crimes inside my head, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I am as good as I want to be, as the ideal of me is. But it takes time, and that is about that conditioning of the mind that you do, and. Depending, I think that it all depends where you are with your life, how advanced you are, because some people are more advanced than others. Like when I was younger, for example, with my career, I know that I've wasted some time staying in certain jobs where I should have gone somewhere else to get more experience somewhere else and be more strategic. I didn't do that. Now, it's a mistake I can see I've made in hindsight. I'm not killing myself about it, but I think, and in the same thing with my mind and my mindset and how I am, you see the mistakes that you've done and you look at it, and I don't want to wake up tomorrow and be the same person I was yesterday. I want to improve and I want to work on what I've done wrong. In the same time, you can't just be, come on. You've got to give yourself a bit time of breathing space because, Rome wasn't made in a day and nor am I.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think that for an athlete, for example, with Andrea, for example, with physical and mental side is very important. I mean, it's not new. The Romans used to say a healthy mind in a healthy body. But it's our responsibility to make that change and to make sure that we have that positive mindset. But it's not easy. And we have to train. I train myself every single day.
Yeah.
You can get up one day, you're tired. I'm tired. I can't be bothered. I said, Fred, just shut up and just go for it. You have to tell yourself that sometimes, because if you feel too sorry for yourself. So going back on the mental health thing, sometimes if I feel too sorry for myself, just get a life. Just get up and do it.
What do you think has been your biggest learning from fatherhood?
No, you caught me here. What is the biggest learning? Do people answer that question? They do, don't they? They do, and they come up with something really witty and intelligent and inspiring, and I'm like, I don't know. My biggest learning from fatherhood, I think maybe thinking about it on the spot is, I mean, look, you've got to take your children for who they are. I think, maybe, it's not that. I think maybe having children has helped me have a better and closer relationship with my parents.
Really?
Yeah, because I can see them through me. I can reverse the roles. I go back in time.
Yeah.
And I see what they did. And I think that's what it is. I think that is just bring everything in perspective in a way that I didn't see before.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that rear view mirror. My children are the rear view mirror that allow me to see myself back and see my parents.
I love that.
So, there are a few people in my life that I think about. There's my children, there is Fruitcake, my partner, there is my parents, there's my brother, there's 4 or 5 very close friends. And these are the people I think about. But in terms of that very close nucleus there with my parents, I think that has been, sometimes, let's say Andrea is around the world and I call her, she doesn't pick up the phone. I think back of the time when I was at catering school, calling my mom, with my 5 francs, and I was calling her once a week. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to call my mom because I was having fun here and there.
Yeah.
And I think back, you see, Fred, it's payback time.
And also the tech then, you would literally have had to go to a phone box, whereas now Andrea's got her phone with her all the time and she's still not answering.
Yeah, because these teenagers, the kids, she's busy. She's busy. No, but I have to say they do call back if they don't answer straight away.
And that's the thing, isn't it? That must be such a split thing of kind of going, she's not talking to me, like she's not picking up, I want to chat to her, but actually that means she's out and she's enjoying
doing her
life
things.
and she's around the world, and how amazing is that?
Yeah.
Fred, we end the podcast with you completing 3 sentences. The first one is...
Is it because I can't speak well English? You are getting
I'm
me
gonna
some
start the
English lessons
sentences
with
for
your
you.
headmistress of a producer over there. Finish the
I'll
sentence.
start the sentence and you finish it.
My
Does it-
tailor is rich. Repeat after me. My tailor is rich. Lesson 1, unit 1.
Look, 7 years, Fred, we've been doing this. It's fine. Right, okay.
Okay.
Being a dad means...
The world.
Lovely. Since having children, I'm
very happy.
And I'm happy when?
Every day. I'm happy when I get to do what I want to do.
Fred, thank you so much. You've been an absolute delight.
Thank you very much.
I knew this was going to be a little bit of a wild one, but I've loved it. Thank you for bringing in the book.
Pleasure.
Seriously British.
Hope you
out
enjoy
now.
reading it.
I cannot wait. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.